In 1866, Susan Dimock became a student at the New England Hospital for Women and Children. And being a student there meant that she would go around with the other doctors, nurses, etc., and learn while being there and by helping out the other doctors. But it wasn't a serious education. It wasn't like going to medical school. And after she'd been there for a couple of years, many of the people there, many of the women doctors said, this person has such exceptional qualities, she's going to be a great doctor, we need to get her a serious education. They originally tried to get her into Harvard, but Harvard turned her away, as it had many other women before and after, because of her gender. It was almost another century before Harvard accepted women into its medical school. But then they said, you know, we've heard that in Zurich, Switzerland, at the university, they're doing an experiment in allowing in a few women from around the world. She applied, was accepted, and she, as well as a couple of women from Russia, Scotland, England, Switzerland, all became part of a small group that became known as the Zurich 7. There were something like 7 times as many men as there were women, but the women worked really hard, impressed everyone. Susan managed in 3 years to finish her degree, even though the average was 5, and she was exceptional in every way. Now, at that time, Zurich was on the River Limmat, and the Polytechnicum was up the hill where she was taking all her courses with the doctors, with alongside men, getting all the same opportunities as men, which just couldn't be done in the United States at the time. But they did not have dormitories, and so students had to go out into the community and find someone to stay with. Very often people would go and try to find someone from their home country just because it was easier. Now, granted, Susan was speaking German because she had to teach herself German and study German because her classes were all in German and her papers were all written in German. However, to stay with an American family would be nice. So she found this nice family. Their name was the Dennisons. The father of this family was Aaron Lufkin Dennison. Now, if you've heard this name, he was basically the founder of what is now known today as the Waltham watch factory, which still exists today. You can see the building here. It's on the banks of the Charles River in Waltham. Susan had a thing about rivers. There was always some river involved. Anyway, it's on the banks of the Charles, and today it's lofts as well as businesses, a restaurant, etc., and it's been beautifully maintained. But back in the mid-19th century, this was a big part of the Industrial Revolution in America. And essentially, the business that he created was the beginning of the American manufacturing system of watches, which meant that watches from beginning to end were all created in one place. Now, Aaron was there as Susan's landlord with his wife and his 4 children. The reason he was in Switzerland was he was looking for labor, because Swiss workers were cheaper and they were way talented when it came to watches. So he was looking for labor there and was there for a few years. After staying for them for a few semesters, she actually had to move on for another family because the Lufkins went on to England. The Lufkin Dennisons went on to England. But it was a very, very important part of her education. After she left Switzerland, she went for several months to Vienna, as well as to Paris, to look at and experiment and find out even more, even though postgraduate work wasn't necessary. And then she returned to the New England Hospital for Women and Children in 1872 and became the resident physician there.